everybody, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Nice to see you again. Thank you for attending this class. What we're going to do today is going to do a quick review of what is chapters 1 and chapter 2 of the book. I finally the access to the course. I was able to obtain the information today. I was having a little bit of issues, so I'm gonna, as soon as we finish with the presentation, I'll go in, posted all the information, a calendar of activities, information of different assignments for the week. And once I have all that information ready, I will send you an email to let you know so you can access it whenever you have some time. Once you review the information, if you have any questions at all about the scores, the grading, the assignments, please feel free to either email me or contact me via WhatsApp or call me. Anything, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. The idea of the book, I don't know if some of you already have the book or not. If you notice, the book has throughout has presentation of different case studies in human resources. So ideally, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna select at least four or five different ones, and basically throughout the term we'll review that. We will have the opportunity to answer the questions related to the case and also at the same time to discuss. So what I'm planning to do is in these presentations, even though you see them listed, I'm gonna have that maybe one of the presentation or two presentations. We don't do a direct presentation like what I did last week or what I'm gonna do today. So we will have the opportunity to chat about the cases, and also you guys will have the opportunity to present as well. So all of that, I'll create a table of the layout, time, site dates throughout the term, and I will post it in the class, and at the same time I'll send it to you via email. So if for now you guys don't have any questions, we basically can start the summary of, like I say, chapter 1 and chapter 2, and welcome to the class. So chapter 1 is basically everything regarding introduction to what it is, human resources. The purpose of the chapter is basically to focus, start from the ground up, basically from the introduction part of human resources all the way to the advanced part of human resources. So this first chapter, it covers everything that is the basic idea of the human resources process, and it provides information about how managers can do things. It also covers all the information about important components of the basis of human resources. And it also gives you information about the competency, the skills, the abilities that a human resources director should have. But what we're focusing, remember that what we're focusing in this class, mostly in the aspect of human resources, is not the main purpose of us to be director of a human resources department. Is that basically our goal? Yes, but the main purpose of the class is to focus more as a directors of a department. If we work in a department, if we're supervisor, if we have a team that we oversees, all these skills of human resources that will help us to properly work with that team and supervise those employees and provide the support that we need, that they need. I'm sorry. So basically, the main purpose of human resources, it could be summarized in five main things, which are planning, organizing, staffing, leading, and controlling, which is basically what I just mentioned to you a few minutes ago. If we're gonna be the team, the leader of that team, it is important for us to have the skills to plan and organize, to give tasks to the teams, to recognize the teams, to know what skills do they have, who can do what and who can support whom. So that is basically goes connecting into the staffing. It is very important, our priority, for us to know our staff, who are their background, their experiences, their skills. It is the only way for us to be able to level out the employees, to see what they need, what they lack of, and basically provide that additional training, that additional support. That is part of the leading aspect. If we don't know our employees, then it's very difficult for us to lead them. And what we need to recognize of our employees is that even though we are the leader, in other words, we're like the supervisor, then basically we have to be aware that there is members of the team that can help us to do things, that can facilitate our load of work, because the higher we go, the more meetings we have to attend, the more intangible projects for the company we have to do. So it is good for us to know that when we are not there, that when we are not present, then our team knows what to do and how to do it. So that goes into the part of controlling. We're not talking about controlling in the aspect of micromanagement, but it is more of controlling of supervision, who can do what and who can do it well. So that's basically most in that aspect. Um, this basically having those five approaches, being very aware of those five things, will help us to basically avoid personnel mistakes. Why? Because we cannot make the mistake or assigning one of the team members a project or a duty, or make them responsible of developing some type of report, for example, if the person does not have the skills or does not have the background knowledge of what you're asking this employee to do. That basically goes into what we're talking about, profits and performance, where it says here to improve profits and performance. We basically can see the situation backwards. If we do assign the wrong employee by mistakes, our profits are going to go down and our performance of the team in general is going to go down. So that's what we have to avoid. We have to make sure that we know the employees, that we assign the employees to the right duties, the way that we don't have profit loss, performance loss, time loss, or actually people loss, because employees get tired and they leave and they resign. So it is important, as a supervisor of a department, has at least some basic ideas and skills of what human resources management is, but no at a aspect of general what human resources is more about people skills. Have the skills to know all those aptitudes that the employees have in order for us to do our job well and make sure that our employees do the job well. So this goes into, for example, when we talk about line and staffing, is making sure that we made the right decisions, but that we place the authority and we give the students, we will kind of like empower the employees to do things. So it's no micromanagement, it's no that constantly following up, do this, do that, do it my way or no way. No, it's empowering the staff to give them the authority to do their own thing, that to trust them. Basically, it is very, very important to trust our employees and to know that we are telling them to do it well. There are many different ways to do something, and we have to give them the freedom to express themselves. The main purpose is the outcome. If you give the employee, for example, a week to do a project, if the employee does it well, the employee meet the task, the employee gives you the information on time, and the outcome of the project is what you wanted, then basically, regardless of how the employee got there, then basically is not as important as the outcome, as the result of the project. People work differently, people have different skills, people do things in different ways. So the idea is to give the employees the freedom just to make sure, with a minimum supervision and offering help, that the project is completed. So that actually helps with what it is, performance and performance and improvement of the team as well. Um, Talking about creativity and creativity in the aspect of the team is basically, for us to know who has the skills to do what, who can share those skills with the team to basically provide the support that we need for the team, not only ours. So the way that we need to do is to make sure that we as a supervisor provide the support and protect the team and help them to develop mentally skills, the knowledge that they need, but at the same time that within the team they support each other and that they develop each other. So this goes into this aspect of what we're talking about, that is about the morale. And if you look at it, the last point, which is very important, that is the health and the physical conditions. If we provide the proper support to the team and at the same time the team support each other, then nobody is overwhelmed, nobody is tired, nobody's mentally tired and physically tired because they feel overworked, that you're giving more work to one employee to the other one. So it is important that they know that we work as a team and that we support each other as a team. I'm not sure if you're able, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. This is basically an example. This is just a general example of an organizational chart, to basically give you an idea of this. Many people, this is very important, and the reason why is many people think that human resources is just one little tiny thing. The purpose of this organizational chart is to show you basically how intrinsic the aspect of management and the field of human resources is. You could see that is not one thing, that is not that you're saying, for example, the director of human resources and assistant director. No, there is many aspects that the employees need. For example, if you are going to file a complaint of sexual harassment within the human resources department, the human resources department has to have a team that specializes in all of that sort of complaint. And maybe within that team, they need to have even a lawyer, a corporate lawyer, that help with this, to help review the cases, to help to do everything. You have human resources in everything, that is the aspect of the team that helps with job descriptions, interviewings, interview committees, and all of that. So within human resources, there are many, many aspects that are part of an organization to support the team. And actually, the bigger the organization, the more branches within human resources you need to have to support. So, for example, if you look at it, this organizational chart is an example of Pinellas County, that is here in the United States, as a matter of fact, in Florida. So this county, for example, could have, let's say, an idea of maybe 6 or 7,000 employees. So the bigger that you have, the bigger company that you have, the more employees that you have, the more human resources branches and employees you are gonna need in order for in order for your organization to work. So, in talking about new approaches of the organizational leadership, something that I would like to mention now that in the past year, I guess, with COVID has happened is all these changes of sex and how companies are basically hiring more people of to create a mixed community. So that's where we need all these new approaches in human resources to make sure that when the employees are in, regardless of say, race, religion, or anything, they feel protected and they know that they have been embedded within the organization and that they are going to receive the service from human resources like anybody else. So when we talk about trends and issues, that this is a very nowadays topic. Everything, any fields have trends and issues is business administration, trends and issues in healthcare, trends and issues in education. And it's because everything, especially technology, is making it all this forcing us to make all these rapid changes. Then basically some of the main aspects of some of the trends in human resources nowadays is we're talking about the demographics and diversity, like I'm saying to you, like I was saying a few minutes ago. Um, the culture of the company has changed, the type of employees has changed. Uh, Organizations are national and international. People are moving to other countries to live. Like for example, like myself, I'm officially I was born in Colombia, but I'm in the United States working in Colombia. So the company that I work with have people from all different countries and all different languages. So part of that trend is to be prepared for quickly changes of policies and regulations to make sure that everybody's protected and we're providing services like I mentioned before. And this goes into globalization trends. One of the main aspects of trend that we have, if we talk about COVID-19 as an example, is companies that never in their wildest dream imagine that they could have people working from home or hiring people remotely. Now they're doing it. But in an end, this has been beneficial for us in general, regardless of where you guys are located and regardless of where you guys live. We do not have to think that our country or our city or our location is our way of living. I can now easily go online and look for jobs with a company from Holland or Germany or whatever because I don't have to be there anymore. I don't have to move there. What is the main benefits of these companies? First of all, we're breaking the barrier of immigration. I don't need to ask for a visa, for example, for a working visa and go and work in Australia or New Zealand or whatever, but I still work and be part of that company that is located there. So a lot of immigration issues have been reduced. A lot of people when we come from travel some countries, and I'm going to use even my country, Colombia, as an example, many countries around the world think that what it comes out of Colombia is drugs. And it has been very hard for us through the years to get rid of that stereotype that there's more from Colombia than drugs, that not everybody that wants to go to another country and work and study is because of that end. So many years ago, there were countries around the world that we couldn't even go and travel on vacation because they didn't even give us a visa to get into that country. That's how bad, unfortunately, the country was labeled. Through the years, that position has changed. But then if we go and look at it the other way, we say, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to have a visa to travel to Holland and to go to a meeting, because all I have to do is to go in Zoom and access the meeting. So for us as a professionals, as a recent professional, people that are studying with the opportunity of getting better jobs, better positions, then we don't have to narrow ourselves anymore. And the biggest advantage that we have is that, is like I mentioned last week, we're bilingual. Some of us are trilinguals. Maybe we speak more than two languages. So we don't have to narrow ourselves in just one location. So that is one of the main trends that has happened in human resources, which in this case is very connected to technology trends that I was talking about. Now we have Zoom. Now what we're doing here, that we have Teams, we have information of not analysis. Google and Microsoft have opened a new way of doing business. Now we have everything online. You can just you can create a spreadsheet in Google, for example, and everybody can work on the same spreadsheet at the same time and do everything at the same time. If we look at a couple of years ago, what did we have to do? Work on a file, email it to somebody, wait until the person update whatever they needed to send, get the file back, and blah, blah, blah. So all that back and forth was taking us a long time for us to do work. Now we don't have that. Now with cloud services, you have the file, and live right there, you can have 10 different people working in the same document at the same time. So you cut costs, you cut time, and at the same time, you have the opportunity to get all of that. So that technology has basically also changed of how human resources operates, how leadership is projected, how we as managers do things. And at the same time, talking about what human resources was before, how we used to manage. If you recall, I'm not sure how was in your different countries, but for example, in my country, in Colombia, and what I have learned here in history in the United States, many years ago, the work environment was men. Men work, women stay behind, and our roles were completely different. So human resources didn't even have certain policies, for example, maternity leave, leave of absence, long-term services, many things that didn't exist before, because men didn't do that. Why? Because women were at home, were pregnant, had the kids, they took care of the kids. But nowadays we have changed all of that. We different races, we women now, people that are in the work sector, then companies had to adjust. So it is the difference between what it was. Let me put it a little bit bigger, but at the same time that you guys can see it. So all those changes in human resources have basically created all of this. We went from economical trends and global workforce. We can apply to many companies around the world, of course, as long as we speak their language, but that's an advantage for us. So companies go into human capital. Human capital in this case, what we need to think about it is the services. A lot of employees out there rather have more benefits from the company than a higher salary. So for example, for more employees will say, it's better for me, I would rather work 10 hours a day and work only 4 days and have Fridays off, because on Fridays I can do this with my family, or my wife doesn't work on Fridays and I can spend time with her and with my kids and everything else. So sometimes people have that benefit. Also, let's say you have employees that are interested on studying or doing something, some volunteer work. So employees will say, I would like to have a flexible schedule that I can start working at 10:30 and finish working at 7 o'clock, and that way I can use my mornings to relax. So sometimes employees are not looking for the paycheck, they're looking for something else. What you can give me, how flexible you can be, how much can you trust me that you know that I still do my work, even though I have a flexible schedule or even though I'm working from home. So in this case, management has the aspect of management and leadership has also changed, and it has to improve because now we don't have everybody in an office like we had before. When leadership before, actually no leadership, let's say in management and supervision was very easy before because everybody had to drive at the same time to a building and everybody had to be together. So all the manager needs to do it was walk around on the floor to realize who was there, who wasn't there, who was late, who wasn't late. But now we don't have that. We're working from people all around the world, people that are in a computer, people that have different time zones. So the leadership has completely transformed. So this goes into basically the aspect of policies and practices, like what policies the companies and entities and organizations have been forced to update because of all these trends of working from home, working flexible schedules, working weekends, and how can we achieve productivity knowing that people are not people are not there physically there, so we don't see them. um so we're talking about, this is one of the case studies that we're going to use and we're going to have the opportunity to review and discuss later on. That is one of the books. When you have the book, you'll have the opportunity, but I'm also going to send you the information. But it is more about performance measurements and department levels and cost levels and strategic results of the company. But as an example of the case study, something that we can, in general, talk that we can cover in this chapter is, for example, about the comparison of employee cost and strategies result that we can apply to improve finances, to improve entries, to improve loyalty, to have retention, that employees don't leave. So this goes into the aspect of the human base of what it is, human resources. Even though it sounds that is like data and facts and analysis and all of that, in this case, we're basically considering is the human aspect of the employee, what it is important to track, um, what are the services that we can provide, what are the policies that we can change, um, what resources we need to give them. So that goes into the adding of the value of the company. The employees are happy. We give them a flexible, for example, if it is a company, let me give you more or less a general example that you can see. If it is a young company, more or less everybody has this idea that women had babies between the ages of, let's say, for example, between 22 and 35. So as a human resources director, if you see that you have a lot of women and a lot of men in that age, then basically you assume that most of the people are in the sense of growing families. They're having babies, they're having kids. So a lot of these companies provide these services. There are a lot of companies now that they're providing, offering childcare services. So the employees have the kids there with them, in another building or in the same building. So if they need, they can go and take a look at their kids and things like that. There are companies that they're setting up nursing rooms that mothers can be with the babies and they can have the babies there, and they are saving in the long run. The employees and serving. So these are the aspect of adding value to those companies. So the employees say, oh no, even though I work with this company, I don't have to postpone my personal plans of having my family, having my kids, having this, having that, or losing my job because now I have to work around my kids' schedule. No. So the company gives that and goes into what is called the sustainability. That is, if they measure all those needs of the employees and they provide the proper environment for the employees to perform, then basically the company is not going to lose revenue, even though the company at the beginning is investing in that daycare or in that nursery room or hiring those teachers that will help with those kids. In the long run, the company is saving because the company is not losing employees, the company is not losing in times, because the employees are getting to work late, or they have to leave early because they have to drive 45 minutes to pick up the kids. They're not going to have that. So productivity will never get affected. Then basically goes into the mental aspect of the employee, that the employee is happy, the employee feels that the company supports them. So the company shows commitment towards the employee. So the employee reciprocates. The employee also gives commitment. It becomes loyal to the company, becomes happy. There are employees that you don't see that they're looking for other jobs because they're getting everything that they need in that place. That's why, for example, companies such as Google and companies such as Microsoft has been so successful because they provide all these other services to the employees that in the long run they realize that it was more important than a financial gain. So this talking about a little bit about ethics in the human resources office is mostly considering the conduct of the employee. If we're talking about all these other services, if we're talking about employees working from homes, if we're talking about that we're giving the employee the opportunity to go downstairs and visit the kid that is in the daycare, then basically we go into the behavior of the employee, that they have a good code of conduct, that they don't abuse of those services that the organization is giving them. That if you are working from home and you tell me that you're going to work from 9 to 5, that basically you're sticking to those ethics and that you are working, not that you are somewhere else or you're watching TV or whatever because you have the temptation of doing that you're at home. So it works both ways. If you ask for things and the company has a budget that can afford it and can give it to you, then the part is basically not abusing of those services as well. So talking about the training and the hiring of the employees, that this goes in connecting basically everything that we're talking about is part of the measuring terms. If you are sending the employees home, if you are hiring the employees to work from home, then we go into the aspect, how can we train this employee? What does he need? Like, for example, does he has good internet to do the job from home? Does he has a good computer from home? And then we go, okay, so we tell the employee to buy the computer, or we buy the computer and we give it to the employee. Then here we go into the aspect of how do we get in touch with the employee? Do you remember that the number standard work office, well, everybody had a desk and everybody had a phone. So now the company goes into, okay, do we get cell phones for everybody? Or The employee will use their own cell phone, but we will give them some type of allowance to cover for phone expenses now that they're going to use their personal phone to do work. So all of those things force the managers to create some specific plans of training and expenses and revenues that they have to invest to have everybody with the right skills and the right competencies. Something that is very important for us to know is that most of the companies in general, I don't know why, they were more into regular Windows operating systems. But a lot of employees now like Apple and they use Apple. So, for example, having that flexibility and say, okay, you want this computer, you want that computer. So now what do we go as a business that we have to invest because they're different softwares? We have to invest from the Microsoft Office for Windows and the Microsoft Office for Apple, for example, or to make sure that whatever all the software and the application that we have, they work well. So that got the company into probably additional investments. So that helps with the information of what the managers need to make sure that the employees are okay to do the functions, to work well, to do it without any needs, and to make sure that everything is correct. Now, this here, I just wanted I wanted to share this with you that this is information, for example, there in the human resources aspect and the human resources field, we have the degrees and we have also certifications. What is recommended to anybody that is a leader, anybody that is a supervisor? If you lead a small team, that you basically have an opportunity to attend a course like this one. A course like this one with the book that we're using will give you everything that you need to the basics to take care of your team properly. But for example, something that is recommended if we go into management of an entire uh, basically 4 or 5 different departments, being supervisor of 50 or 100 employees or something like that. Even though we are not directly employees of human resources, it is recommended for them to have a human resources certification, because now we're talking that we're dealing with 100, 200 employees, different religions, different races, different ages, different backgrounds and skills and levels of education. So for us to control the situation, we need better skills. So if professionally in the future we go at that level, we are blessed enough or lucky enough to have that type of position, that type of opportunity, basically to remember that we do need to learn, we need to get educated in order for us to do our job well. So that's what everything is connected in what it is: experiences and educations and values and assumption and background, like it says here. So it's not only the philosophy and know what it is, and it's not only the experience that you gain from your job, but it's also the education that you need to gain and never have that value of education to do your job well with your employees. So now we go into the particular aspects and continuation of chapter one. I wanted to go into covering a little bit of things that you are going to review and that you're going to see in the chapter, which is basically this chapter will cover a lot of everything that is tools and practices of the human resources. So it will cover in more detail everything that I have been discussing up to now. It goes into everything that is the responsibility, the technical aspects, how we can perform, how we do things, how we can learn to basically be better in our job without taking over all the human resources responsibilities. That's what, as a leader, is what we need to consider at all times. The emphasis of places, how we can use technology to our advantage, how we can quickly encourage our employees to learn something, to train, to gain skills that will help them to do their job better. So you are going to see different aspects in the chapter that, depending on your place of work, you are going to do it, to apply it. So the main purpose of this book and the main purpose of this class is what I have mentioned before. Is not that it's like out there abstract that you're reading and you're going to write about it. No, is that everything that you see, everything that you can extract from here, that you can apply it at your work, do it. Any information that you see from the class, any of these presentations that you think that is important for you to have, then let me know. Any information that you think that will help you more with the aspect of doing your job, even if you have a project right now and you need any resources or any recommendations that maybe we haven't reviewed, we haven't covered, let me know and I'll give you ideas, even if it is additional articles that might help you with whatever you are doing. So, what we're doing today, for example, is only working in what is chapters 1 and chapter 2, that it is covering everything, the basis of human resources management. And we're going to go into what it is equal opportunity. Equal opportunity is one of the main aspects of human resources. That's what they actually have it as a chapter 2, because going back to what I was talking to you about it, that now we're working remotely, that we have the opportunity to work with other companies in other places, in other country. Now more than ever, it is important to do that. That we, our employees that we have with us, don't feel that we're discriminating them, that we're not giving the opportunity to be better just because we're hiring this person from another country at a lower salary or something like that. So that is a very thin line that, as a supervisor, it is important for us to be aware of it. Then in chapter 3, we will be covering what is like human resources strategies and analysis. And this is the information of the topics that we will cover in the rest of the book for you guys to have an idea. Everything that is job analysis and performance and testing and selection. What I like about this book, it goes even into aspects of interviewing skills. If you are at that position that you need, you are a leader and you have to interview and you have to hire and you are actually the responsible person for like hiring and firing and terminating contracts and moving and everything, then basically this book covers everything. It goes from the basics of human management, all the advancing duties and responsibilities. So information of performance, performance review uh, for the employees, training, um, motivation for retention, like I was mentioning no long ago, everything that is pace and performance, benefits, the aspects of benefits. This one, chapter 3, is going to cover everything about what type of benefits do we give. Remember that the company has doesn't have enough budget. There are companies that do not offer, for example, health insurance to the employees. But we, as a corporation, as a company, we need to survive. So then we bargain with benefits. Benefits is not only like 5 days and vacation days and holidays and this and that and whatever. Benefits is everything else that I was mentioning before, giving them the opportunity of a flexible schedule, giving them the opportunity of working from home, giving them the opportunity of uh, offering them a child care services in the place that they work. So all of that also counts as a part of the benefits that the company can offer. And then basically here we go at the end in more detail of organization. That is, as a leader, but these aspects, especially chapters 15, 16, 17, and 18, are mostly related within the company, like what you do with other leaders of other departments to make things better, how you communicate with other departments, because you are the leader of a team, you are part of a team, but you don't work by yourself. You could be the team leader of in finances, but then you have technology and IT and administration and the call center and 10,000 different other departments. Also, something is depending on the field that you are. Let's say you are in the healthcare field. So now you say, oh, wait a minute, I might have unions. I might have teams that are related with doctors and nurses. And so all of that is, these chapters are more within the corporation at the corporation level, how to maintain the labor relations, how we do collecting and bargaining. Because of that, what about if I work in a university and the faculty have a union? That is part of the collecting and bargaining. We as a team leaders are not going to be involved in that, but we might have team members that are part of the union. So now dealing with those employees is completely different. It's completely different working with regular employees than working with employees that are unionized. So it is important for us as a team leader to know, to have the skills of collecting bargaining, to handle issues with employees that are members of a union. And then here talks about safety, health, and risk management, of course, because it's all about how we can protect our employees depending on the work that we do. If we work in a company, for example, like Johnson and Johnson, doing research, working in a lab, working with this. If we work in a factory, employees building things or whatever, then all of that safety, health, and risk management are completely different. Even for example, me as a faculty, then you see and you say, yeah, okay, you're spending 9 hours of a day sitting in front of the computer working. So part of my university is saying, wait a minute, do you have the right chair, that you don't affect your back, that you don't affect your lower back, that because you are spending too much time sitting. So when we talk about safety, health, and risk management, it's all of that. All of us that work, we need the safety, the health, and we know that what employers are giving us the correct tools to be safe, to perform our job well. So this one about managing in global in human resources will be very beneficial for us because we are international. We are in different countries. We live in different places. So this gives us the opportunity to get more involved about how you guys do things. Like for example, something that I would like to talk to you about it is, how is the hiring process in your company? I'm gonna tell you something that thanks God they don't do here in the United States. They do in Colombia, and I don't even understand why. When you are applying for a job, part of the job interview is a visit. A representative of the human resources office go to your house to visit you at your house to see your home environment. That is something that is mind blowing to me, because I was like, the fact that I live here, or I live with my husband, or I live in this neighborhood, or I live in this house, then how that is going to affect my performance at work. I am leaving my house in the morning, driving or taking the bus or taking the metro to go to your facilities to work. So some companies and some countries has this weird aspects of hiring and interviewing, that I think the fact that we are from all these different countries, we are gonna get benefit of all of that. And then basically the last chapter of the book is about talk about small human resources in the small aspect. This is very good if you own your own business, or you're planning on owning your own business, or you even if you work in a very small company. Know all of that. The university that I work with, for example, full time, the last time I saw the numbers were close to 7,000 employees, full time, part time, faculty from all around the world, administrators, and all of that. But not all the companies are like, there are companies that there might be 5 to 10 people. So this covered us into all of that, and actually covered us. It gives us some recommendation, even in the future we want to work and we want to open our own business, and your business is going to have only 2 3 employees. Always remember, you can have one employee and you're going to need human resources skills, because you don't want issues, no one issue with that single employee that you have. So the fact that you think that you're going to have only one employee, that everything is going to be okay, there is always issues, conflicts, issues, insurance, benefits, you name it. So this is just general information about the book that I wanted to show you. And this is basically here the what I could say the whole aspect of review of chapter 1, and the general information of the basis of human resources. But now I'm gonna stop the way that you guys have the opportunity to talk and share information. If you have any questions about the information that I mentioned in chapter 1, if you want to share something about your place of work, or what you do, or what you have faced, the floor is yours. So who wants to share some information with the group? Nobody wants to say anything or share anything? Do you have any questions about what I have said so far? Okay, so if you don't have any questions or nothing to share at this time, then I'm gonna go and basically go into what is chapter 2. Um, Chapter 2, it's basically everything that is equal opportunity, like I mentioned to you. So now we're gonna go into the aspect of more, no, I'm not going to say law per se, because this is 100% the application of law in the human resources field. It is with the human resources director and the human resources office. But as a team leader and as a director, it's important for us to have some idea about the laws. Now, I'm gonna mention something since the beginning. This book was designed in United States for it will cover a lot of the policies within the United States, but you can use the basis of these policies as a consideration for reviewing yours, because your policies of human resources, especially in this field, might be a little bit different, or you might have some additional policies. As a matter of fact, I encourage you and motivate you to review information about those specific policies in your country, and that you can share with us, so we can learn from how we do things, how you do things in your country, or what does your country does to support in this. um, so for example, here they're talking a lot about Title 7. Title 7 here in the labor laws in the United States is everything that is about civil rights. The right as a human being that I have to work to, and the equality of work, that you are not going to give me more or less because I'm a woman, or you are not going to give me more or less because I'm 65 and not 25, or you are not going to give me more or less. This even this in considered in an aspect, even salary. Like if you look at two employees, the same age, the same education, from similar universities, the same years of experience, then you go into the aspect of, for example, why are you paying this person $60,000 and why are you paying me $55,000? What is the difference? In the private sector, the situations of salary in comparison with the civil rights is very, very tricky. And I'm going to explain to you why. Now, sometimes it goes into the bargaining skills that as an employee we have. The private sector has a bigger budget of salary, for example, for the employees, and they know that. So sometimes it becomes more on how the employee projects him or himself on the interview. How experienced is this person in a doing bargaining process during the time of hiring. So sometimes we cut ourselves short if we're very shy, or we say like I don't want to be over aggressive. So people don't put all the cards on the table during the bargaining process. So that's what some employees sometimes get better benefits or a better salary or certain schedules. So part of our skills, both ways, if we ever looking for a job or we are interviewing people, is the skills of the bargaining process, the way that we don't go too much in one way or the other way. We don't want to hire somebody, for example, a $60,000 just because the person had excellent bargaining skills, when you know that you have employees in your company doing the same position, doing the same duties with 20 years of experience, that they know your company and your environment, and these people are making $50,000. So that goes, then you go into from the bargaining position to the ethics aspect of we were talking about human resources. Then what is fair and just, the way that we don't start losing people because they're not happy because they've been at the company for 20 years, and then they hire this person that doesn't know anything about the company, and they're paying this person more than what you are getting paid. So that is us as a team leaders what we have to be careful in that aspect of civil rights and bargaining and everything. Then this is something, talking into the more law aspect of it, that we're talking about, uh, what I was mentioning just to you about the discrimination and practices and the personnel and promotion and selection. Because if I have this employee of 20 years in the company and have more experience than the person that just hired now and is making less than this person that just came in, then this employee can turn around and file a lawsuit for discrimination. So when we are responsible for recruitment and selection and promotion and transfers and all of that, it is important, like I was saying to you, maybe even considering the certification in human resources, especially for the aspect of laying people off. It is always easy to hire, it is always easy to promote, and it is very easy to transfer. The worst part of being a manager is the layoff. You have to learn more about layoffs than anything else because you have to do it carefully. You have to document it the right way. You have to know exactly which is the best time for you to do it, the way that you don't avoid, that at all time you avoid legal consequences, a lawsuit, a discrimination. Here in the United States, there is a law that actually protects the employee. That if the employee wins the case, you can actually not get rid of the employee. You cannot let go of the employee. You will have to transfer the employee to another department or something. So it is very tricky out of aspects of out of everything that a team leader has to do. The worst thing is that, and it's the one that we need to be more prepared because, as you know, sooner or later we will have to do it, and if we have to do it sooner or later, we have to make sure that we're going to do it right, that we are following the policies, that we're not affecting the employee, that we're doing the right thing with the employee, and all of that. So that we can avoid legal action because in the long run, it basically affects the organization because of the amount of money that they have to spend in courts and things like that. So this is something that I was mentioning to you, that the book is designed mostly for policies in the United States. Um, but that's for you, for example, to have an idea. For example, the Fifth Amendment um, talks about the rights and protections of the employee, just for you guys to have an idea. Um, that is basically related to crimes, everything that is related to crimes, uh, fed of a trial, fed of a judgment, and everything else. This is connected to the companies because in the employment applications, we uh, ask if the employee had any criminal issues. I don't know if in your country you do it. Here in the United States, they do. One of the questions when you're completing an employee application is, do you have any criminal records? So this is basically about the Fifth Amendment, is all of that. If the employees say yes, then we have to go into, okay, what type of criminal record that this person has, to determine if with a criminal record we still can hire this person, or we still can offer this person a job or anything like that. So even though this is more in the legal aspect of it, in the criminal aspect of it, basically it affects us because it is important for us to know that if we can hire somebody for a certain position or not, because part of it is the opportunity. Somebody made a mistake, somebody was in jail for this or Y reason, the person is trying to be better, the person went to school, the person basically got a 350-degree change. But by law, they have to say, yes, I had a criminal record, or yes, I was in jail. And then that's what us as a leader, um, is for us to know if that person is a good fit for the company or not. If we decide to hire somebody that has a criminal record, for example, because it was a misdemeanor, it was something very, very simple, and basically you know that it is not going to affect how this employee is going to perform in your company, we are responsible to keep that quiet. The only person that knows about this, it will be the director of human resources, you as a supervisor, and whoever is the one that decides to hire the employee. We do not have the right to discriminate people past or to say anything to anybody. If the person later on feel comfortable of making a comment and sharing that information with the team, yes. But as a supervisor, we will not have the right. That is a privacy law that protects all of that, so we cannot share that information. Now, going to what is called the 13th Amendment, just to give you a little bit of um, an idea of what this is. The 13th Amendment in the United States is the abolishment of slavery. United States had a slave for many years, and we have a civil war. Actually, one of the biggest wars in the country was about that, about the abolishment of slavery. And the country was divided in two, North and South wanted the slave, and North didn't want it, and all of that. But basically, the idea of how an employer applies this is what they are telling you and reminding you is that that you cannot treat your employees as an slaves. So, in other words, if you translate it nowadays, is basically a fair schedule. So you're not going to put somebody to work 15 hours a week, 17 hours a week. That's the reason why we have work schedules. It is connected to the fair work schedule, fair workload, fair services, uh, fair training, all of that. That's what it means. That's what the employees, that's what now the jobs are protected under this. Because nowadays an employee can say, I'm file a lawsuit to my company because these people are treating me like I was a slave, or these people. And if the employee has documentation that they're working more hours, that they're overworked, that they're overload, that they're over this, that they're over that, then basically they can win. So ideally for us as a team leader, how do we avoid these issues? For example, is making sure that when somebody leaves, you quickly hire somebody. Part of our responsibility is that. It's one thing to ask an employee and say, hey, this person is in maternity leave. Can you help with your duties? Or this employee just resigned. Can you help us with part of these duties while we hire somebody else? And maybe to that employee, even though we asking sort of a favor and we are giving the employee the option to tell us yes or no, whatever, we can give an incentive to the employee. If we're not able to give a bonus or something in salary, we can tell the person, hey, we're going to give you 2 days off, or at the end of this project, we'll give you 3 days off with pay, not consider part of your vacation for you taking this load and helping us during these difficult times while we hire somebody. So that is the reason why in equal opportunity in employees nowadays that we're talking, like, for example, just for you to guys have an idea that it is not there, I should have put it there. The 13th Amendment was something that happened in 1865. We are in 2022 and we're still in the aspect of human resources using this because it has to be we cannot forget where our employees are coming from, and we cannot abuse in all of this. Now, regarding, for example, the civil rights, what I can give you an idea, a summary of the civil rights. This was more about protection of citizenship. Uh, so, in other words, it's more with the rights of employment and documentation. That we are giving our employees the right to work because let me see if I can explain this some way. Okay, for example, here in the United States, especially here in Florida, um, we have a lot of people that come from other countries. Um, so people come here without papers, and people, they just want to work under the table. That is what we call. They don't have papers, they don't have documents, they do not have the right to work in the United States legally. But
Yes.
then basically, as an employee, because it's cheaper for me to hire this person, and I can hire this person at $6 an hour instead of 12, then basically I hire this person under the table, and I basically just uh, give them the I take the job from somebody else. That's basically what I was trying. I'm sorry, I apologize. I was looking for something here on my phone to think that idea. Basically, this is about stealing the positions. A lot of companies hire people under the table because they're cheaper, because I don't have to give you insurance, because I don't have to give you that, or this, or whatever, or this benefit of the other benefit. So this basically in the United States protect that. If I'm working in my company, and this is how this works. I'm a United States citizen. I have papers. I have work. I work in this company. If I know that the company hires somebody under the table that doesn't have papers and is affecting the work environment of somebody else, then basically my responsibility supposedly is to report it to the Department of Labor, because the companies cannot hire people that don't have the right credentials, that they don't have the right positions, that they don't have the right skills, just plain and simple because it's cheaper. So that is basically in summary what these three things mentioned in the United States and are related. Um, so talking about talking about civil rights, if we go into what Title IV covers, then basically it is important to know the following. This is an order that is for the law. It is signed by the president. It is administrated those. It is administrated by all the companies, and basically everybody has to law by it. So if an employee files a lawsuit in something related to these civil rights, it becomes a federal case. So a lot of companies are very, 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 they take this very seriously, because here in the United States, there are different demands of laws and discriminations, and some things can be handled at the corporation level, some things can be handled at the city level, some things can be handled at the state, but some things can take all the way to the federal court. And this is one of those aspects. An employee can fight it all the way to the end. So companies are very, very, very careful about equal employment, equilibrium and stability, similar conditions, and all of that. Um, Here, something that we also have in protection that I don't know if you have it in your country. Like I say, this is more for you to compare what you have and make you think about the advantages or disadvantages that you have in your country or other countries in comparison. For example, is the age protection. People here in the United States between the ages of 40 and 65 are very protected. So when they're working and a company has to do a layoff, is something related with somebody in this between in these ages, they have to be careful. They have to be careful. They have to document it. They have to know what they're doing it, and they have to make sure that they know that they're doing it because of employee reasons, that they're not doing because this person is old and this person doesn't know technology, this person doesn't know computers, or because our responsibility is train the employee. So it is very, 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 very difficult, let's say that way. And in certain fields, for example, in the higher education field here is where people, uh, the older people work. Like, for example, I have co-workers in my department, faculty members that they have almost my mom's age. And as a matter of fact, in the university aspect, in the higher education, they like to keep these people because these people have worked in different places. These people have gone through different retirements. These people have written books. These people have a lot of experience in the field. So in the higher education field, actually, the older the person is, the more beneficial it is for the students because they have more to say, more to share, more to like more information to share with the students and to feed. So in the higher education field in the United States, it is more than in any other places that I have seen. Uh, eh, People over 60 and 65 years old are still working and are still in the field. But this is just to show you a little bit about that's to show you a little bit about uh, how different policies work, how everything works in hiring, in promotions. And now we go into what is the Pregnancy Act. um, what I was talking to you about it before, that some organizations offer childcare, some of the organizations have nurturing places, is because of this, because we have a law here that is protecting pregnancy. So we cannot use any of those for discrimination. We cannot lay off a person because it's pregnant. We cannot uh, uh, basically tell the person we're not going to give you a promotion because you had this condition or you have that condition. So these are different covers of federal law that I do want to take advantage of this chapter two whenever you have the opportunity to read it and compare it with the labor laws in your country and the human resources laws in your country. And you're going to notice that all countries are different, or um, employers are different. There are laws that affect everybody, and this is something that organizations now more than ever have seen themselves forcing or creating some type of balance, because it's like I was telling you, yes, we have the opportunity to hire people from all around the world. We do have that, but then now we have to be careful and we say, okay, is this person going to be protected by the laws of the United States, or as a company we need to know certain labor laws from Spain or certain labor laws from Russia or wherever the person lives. So a lot of companies nowadays have standardized a lot of the policies because of that reason, to make sure that they know that regardless of where the employee is, regardless of where they live, or what type of job they do to the company, that the employees feel protected as well, and that the employees have rights, even though this company is housed in this country and you live in another country. So that is important for us to know. So in summary, what I wanted to, the reason why I left this here is for us to, you have an idea of here in this country, policies that are important for us, and that as a team leaders, we have to be aware of it and we have to know. The persons here, the disabled persons in the United States, either handicaps or even, especially if they are soldiers and they're missing a limb or something like that, those people are untouchable. So when we work with people that are disabled, we have to be very careful of how we do things with them. We have to be very aware of the American Disability Act policies that in treat the person, even though the person is in a wheelchair, in your mind as a supervisor, is like if that wheelchair never existed. You are going to treat the person the same way that everybody else. It doesn't matter if the person can walk and it cannot walk. So that's how they basically see it here. Um, it is different talking about a, a position if we see somebody with mental issues, that a lot of companies have seen that. So it is different if we recommend somebody to be dismissed from a job because of safety reasons. So we as team leaders, all that aspect of human behavior and psychology, we have to be very aware and we have to see all those red flags. You guys have seen it before on the news that the people, that person gets fired and then the person goes 3 days later and going to the company and is trying to kill everybody and shooting everybody and all of that. And it's because of that, because a lot of red flags were ignored by the supervisor and by the director of human resources. They were not able to handle the situation the right way or on time. And then when the accident happened or when you realized that the situation was getting out of hand and you dismissed the employee, then basically things got completely out of hand. And so, as a supervisor, that's what is so important. All these different policies, being aware of all these different policies, the labor law policies that your country has, because we have to, our responsibility at all time is to protect our employees. You think as a company and you say it's not a company, it's not a building, it's not a facility, it's the human beings that are within that company. And it's not only my team, my 3 or my 4 people that I work with, it's everybody else within the company. Be always aware of those red flags. Always report that information. Always report when we see something that we cannot handle, because we don't know when the situation is going to get worse. So those are things that are very important. So if you work in your country and you are a supervisor in your country, review those laws. Review those laws. You don't have to memorize them, but be aware of those laws. Be what they require. Be what it is required in your country and in your place of work. The way that you have all of this, you know what are your rights, how you can protect your employees, what services you can give to your employees. And something very, very important now that we got to this is about the military employees. A lot of military employees um, have PTSD, depending. Like, for example, after the war that happened in the 80s with Afghanistan, and the war that we always go with Iraq and Iran, and when we send soldiers in the United States, soldiers are protected for employment. So when the soldiers come back from the war, if the employment application, they report that they were in a war and that they're back and they're now in civil juris, we are responsible as much as possible if it is fit to hire that person more than anybody else. But then, as a supervisor, we have to be careful of all of that. A lot of them they come with psychological behavior, with depression, with PTSD, with traumas from the war, and whether they like it or not, they bring all of that to the workplace. And that even happened to us. The person that say that we keep our private life and our work life perfect is because I've never worked in their life. Because you know that if you have a bad situation at home, you have issues with your husband, or you have problems with your sake, or God forbid, your parents are sick or whatever it is, you carry that with you. You go to work, you perform your duties on a daily basis, but in the back of your mind, you have that situation. And we're talking about situations like divorce, for example. So we as supervisors have to be aware of all of that to see how we can help our employees during those difficult times. No, because we want to know what is going on and we want to be in the middle of the situation. No, it's because we always have to think about everybody else. How do I protect my employees? How do I protect my employees? If I'm aware of what is going on. Because if I'm aware of what is going on, I can help this person, yes, but at the same time, I'm keeping everybody else protected and safe. So, all of those aspects of what we're talking about, military, mental issues, depression, family issues, disability, all of those are important for us to be aware, to make sure that we don't discriminate, to make sure that we don't go into legal issues that the company cannot afford. There are companies that can basically go out of business because an employee can win a case of discrimination with outrageous amount of money that the company cannot even afford. So it is important, all of those things. Now we're going to go into a more delicate aspect of what it is and of supervision of employees, which is religion. Religion is something that we have to be very careful about it because we have two aspects, the believers and the no believers. The believers are basically the people that respect religion, practice religion, and follow the religion's tradition. And the no believers is, of course, we work with those ones that don't believe in anything. They don't practice religion. They don't do anything at all. They're completely agnostics. So, as a supervisor, we have to create that flexibility that keeps everybody happy. We cannot discriminate anybody because of their religions, their traditions, including specifically their days off. So I'm going to give you, for example, an idea. In the place that I work with, we have four days that we call flexible holidays, but they call them flexible holidays because of that, because we have religious people, we have practitioners, we don't have practitioners, we have agnostics. So they got rid of the word religion and they just basically call them flexible days. They're not part of our vacation days, they're not part of our sick days, they're just flexible days. But the main purpose of those days is that anybody can take those days off during the year, whichever way they want. Even if it is you have to take care of somebody that is sick and it's a couple of hours, if you want to use it to go to the doctor's office or whatever. But in this case, for those people that are religion and practice religion, that they can use those days as a religion holidays and be able to be out of work on those important days for you. For example, if you're Christian and December 24th is very, very important to you, or you're going to what is called Holy Week, or whatever your religion it is, that you have certain important holidays that are valuable for you as a practitioner of that religion. So that's basically what it is. So as a leaders, it's very important for us to have that idea, to know uh, in a very minimal, basically general way, to know if we have Jews in the team, if we have Muslims, if we have people that believe in something, if we have Christians, if we don't have Christians, because of that. Because when we always have to think about our work. If we have a project, if we have a deadline, if we have something that we need to do right away, then basically that we know that we have to respect this person's religion. We're not gonna give, for example, a Christian the deadline of a report on December 24th, because I'm not Christian and December 24th for me is whatever day of the calendar, but this person is going to be in church, or this person is going to be that day with the family, or something like that. So basically, that's what we have to be careful as well. So learning about all these things, it helps us to respect those things in our team. So now we go into the other aspect of discrimination that we have to be aware of. It that is basically sex, marriage, retaliation, affirmative action, and all of those things. I'm not sure if you are aware of what affirmative action means. So I'm gonna, like I say, I'm using all of this from the United States, so you can see a little bit of the aspect of it. But for example, the Affirmative Action Act here in the United States covers everything that you can imagine. We cannot discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, or nationality. It is basically compacted in all of those. It's a total of what? One, two, three, four, five. Of all those five: race, color, religion, sex, and nationality. Yeah, there are five. And that covers everything in the employee in the United States. So that's what is called basically affirmative action. We cannot discriminate. That includes hiring. We cannot discriminate in hiring somebody because it's from a country that we don't like, or it's from a religion that we don't like, or it's because of a color that we don't like, or it's because we think that the men are better than women. One of the aspects of this is, I'm gonna generalize, but you guys, for you to have an idea, the construction, field, everybody has this idea that the construction field is dominated by men because of what construction is all about. And it's too hands-on and working and building houses and doing whatever. But if I have a woman that comes in and looking for a superintendent, I cannot discriminate this person because it's a woman, because even though it's in a main environment and maybe she would be the only woman working with 10 men, if she has the skills to be a superintendent and she has the license to be a superintendent, then basically I don't have the right to discriminate just because she's not a man. So there's certain fields in this aspect, certain things of the Affirmative Action Act that covers more than other ones, depending of the employment field. But regardless of that, is more that we stereotype. We made the idea that constructions is more like a main field than than women feel. It's like we stereotypes that we could say all nurses are women. People have this idea that most of the nurses are women, when no, there is a lot of men that they don't like to go into medicine, they like to go into nursing. So through the years, we human beings, we, you guys, me, everybody, has tend to stereotype certain jobs. So it is important to know that is one thing that we stereotype and what we believe, and is another thing what basically it's is the law, is the so give me 1 second, let me see why this is not moving to the next slide. Okay, so talking about, hold on 1 second, I apologize. It's taking me to some other screen, and I want to make sure why it's doing that. So covering the information of the policy of law, while I'm retrieving this, do you have any question whatsoever of everything that I have covered until now? Do you want to share any information about the policies in your company? What have you experienced? What do you think that there's certain policies, certain discrimination laws in your company different for what I have mentioned so far? Anybody wants to share anything with the group? Don't be so quiet. Remember that this is to have the opportunity for us to share and interact and see what, to learn from each other. So it's good to know what happened to you guys in your place of work. So nobody wants to say anything. Okay. So let's see if now then we can move on with this. And you see the the screen of the presentation?
Yes, it is visible.
Excellent, thank you. So we're basically now getting closer to the end of the review of chapter 4. I'm sorry, chapter 2. Um, and we're basically going into a very, very important topic in the aspect as a leader of a team or director of a department, or like I said before, even if we are in the human resources field directly, which is basically everything that is involved sexual harassment. Um, this used to be a case that a lot of women had the sense of facing before in the workplace, let's say it that way. So they were seeing more like an object, like a stereotype, things like that. But now with the variety of hiring people from different sex and bisexuals and gays and things like that, for example, the aspect of sexual harassment had actually changed a lot. And it's because anybody can basically uh, file file a lawsuit regarding sexual harassment. Eh, and something that they mentioned that they see here, if you see where they say quid pro quo, quid pro quo is a Latin word that it could be translated as, it's like actually kind of like a bargaining chip. Quid pro quo is this for this. So it's what you can give me for me to give you this. So in the corporate world is like, and we're all adults here, but I wanted to express it like that, the way that you can understand is like, if you have sexual relationship with me, then I can give you this position. Or actually, quid pro quo is not only, it can go as far as not a sexual aspect as well, but even a financial aspect. When people take bribes, you can tell the person, if you give me this much of money, then I can give you this. Or if you do this favor for me, if you fire this person that I don't like, then I give you this. So the quid pro quo aspect is started a lot, and actually the basis is that it's sexual in nature. But if nowadays with technology, with everything, you can basically even think about it this way. In addition to the quid pro quo, if we use the terminologies, that is, what can you give me in order for me to give you this? And that in a way creates a hostile environment for everybody, because then everybody say, oh, because you have money, then you got this job. Or because you went and bribed somebody, then you got this. This actually even goes as far as, for example, in the aspect of secrecy, in corporate secrecy, that people might go and say, oh, I know this secret from this person, and I know what this person did, and I know this. So then you jump from like quid pro quo, for example, to blackmailing, because you can go and say, oh, I want that you give me this, because if no, I will do this, or I'll say this, or I will report this, or I will publish this. So, quid pro quo, when you guys have the opportunity to read about it, and you're going to notice that is more inculcated in sexual in nature, you're going to notice that nowadays we can actually apply it for many things, because it not only says is how far you can go on blackmailing people or harassing somebody just to get to where you want to go. So that's basically the whole idea. But all that situation creates a hostile environment for the employees, a hostile environment for the team leader, especially if the team leader is the one that being harassed or blackmail or something like that. And that also goes into this aspect, that is, when we talked about the beginning of trends and issues, this is a trend. uh, I don't think is nowadays. I think in a way has always existed, but is more noticeable now, and more people now talk about it and complain about it, which is bullying. And bullying works both ways. You can be a bully and be a bully for other co-workers, or have a supervisor that is a bully. And whatever it is, bullying is part of the human resources aspects of protection. So if you work with somebody that you believe is a bully and is making your life miserable, uh, especially a supervisor, then this is protected within the human resources policies, and you can file a complaint, and you can actually even file a lawsuit against that person. So basically, what we have to be careful in comparison with the different countries that we live and the countries that we work at is all of that. Is what it is considered discrimination in my country, how discrimination is handled, how is it treated, what training do I need to give to my employees, what is the impact that discrimination brings to the company. Their employees that sometimes they're so upset that they can go as far as um, report everything to the media. So then now the reputation of the company it's is torn, is damaged, and a lot of the companies don't recover from that. So it's all of that, what it is important of what we do, how we do it, how we handle it, and to learn how to respect. That's what we're going back into what I was mentioning to you guys of age, religion, gender, nationality, all of that, because we work with people from all over the world, even here. Like each of us here, most of us here are from different countries and different backgrounds and different ages and different cultures. So that's what it is important for us to know. So what about if, for example, Carlo is in Italy and work in a company, and everybody in the company it's Italian, is from the same town, from the same city. We don't face that, but that has drastically changed through the years. So we cannot think that in our company, all we're going to have is Americans, or all we're going to have is Hispanics, or all we're going to have is whatever it is that we're from. So we always have to have an open mind and thinking how me as a supervisor prepare myself to do this better, to do this job that I feel capable of supervising anybody, regardless of where they're from, regardless of their age, regardless of religion, regardless of background and skills and everything. This graphic, I try to actually make it bigger, but it's so big that, hold on, let me see. We'll just divide it really quick, and hold on if I can do this, because it's always with these large graphics. Let me just move it. This is basically an organigram of the process that employees follow when they file a complaint, how the complaint starts, how it's reviewed, all the different options that they have, what are the departments that reviewing. If this happened, then that happened. If this doesn't happen, if they find reasons, if they don't find reasons. So this is something that maybe is good in your place of work for you to have an idea, even for your own protection. For example, if you face that you are being bullied, if you face that you are harassed, then it is important as an employee to know this. What do I need to do? What is the first person that I need to contact? What do I need to report? What do I need to document? Human resources is everything about documentation, documentation, documentation. So when you feel in this type of environment, when you feel with all these situations, then basically what you do is that you go and you say, okay, what do I have to do to protect myself? So besides documentation, is not documentation, is, oh, I have an email. No, it's important all the details. Today, Saturday, January 22nd, this happened, and immediately documented and everything. Because when you don't have good documentation, when you don't have a good case, then basically you can file a harassment, and you as harassment complaint, and it's not gonna go anywhere because human resources need proof. So it is important that to be prepared. And at the same time, as a supervisor, this help us, because if one of the employees come to you and say, I want to file a harassment complaint, you need to be aware of what is it that your company requires. What documentation do you need to have? What is the first step you need to follow? How to approach it? What to say? What to document? To whom you need to talk to? All of that. So this works both ways. So as a supervisor, it's important for us to know all of that. What can you discuss, as even things listen. As an employee, immediately when the employee opens their mouth and say, I'm filing as a harassment complaint, you have to be aware and you have to learn and you have to listen. But at the same time, you need to be aware about what can you listen, because if the person is sharing private information with you that it should be sharing with the human resources office, you need to stop the employee and you say, I cannot listen to this, I cannot comment on this, I cannot document this. You need to talk to somebody in the human resources office. So it is that is as far as all of this, what it is important to know the policies. What can we document? What can we listen? And mostly because we tend to sympathize with the person, especially if we know that it's somebody that we are aware, like we were talking about, we see all those red flags. We cannot comment anything. We cannot agree with the employee or we cannot disagree with the employee, because that is not our job. Our job is just to document, get the information and give it to the human resources representative and let the representative of the employee to review the case and to determine if this employee has a case or not. So we tend to sympathize, we tend to support, we tend to say, oh yes, I'll help you, you're right, you're this. No, that is not our job. This is going back exactly what I just mentioned about this, what is volunteer mediation. We are going to be in the middle, we are going to be involved, we are going to be in the middle of the situation, whether they like it or not, because it's a team member. So if we're going to be in the middle, we have to be aware how we're going to assist the person, what information we have to share, what can we say, what kind of support we can say, that the person doesn't turn around and say, oh, but Lena believes this and that, and Lena say this, and Lena does think that this employee was harassing me. No, that cannot happen, because that basically goes from a harassment complaint to a sexual harassment lawsuit to a legal litigation. So as a supervisors, we have to be very, very aware of that. We cannot be involved in anything that is regarding the dispute or the resolution. All we're going to do is we have to wait for the human resources representative to let us know how the situation is going to handle and how we can handle it after the fact. Why? Because both members of the team are still going to be in your team, unless human resources recommends that it's better to transfer an employee from your team to somewhere else. But if the decision of human resources is keeping both of the employees with you in the same thing, that's what you need to be very neutral, because you need to learn to handle the situation after the fact, after the complaint, how you keep both employees happy, that there is not going to be any stereotype, there is not going to be any other complaints, that they're not going to disrupt the harmony of the work environment of the other members of the team. So as a supervisor, it's very, very important for us to know all of this. And this goes into how to handle a the situation depending on what it is. If it is, for example, a sexual harassment, if it is a bullying complaint, if it is something regarding benefits or services or discrimination because of race or sex or religion, the handling of the situation after the case is reviewed is completely different. So it is very, very important for us to be aware of the resolution, to be follow the recommendations of the human resources representative, to be aware how, and you have to start, you as a supervisor have to start documenting. Because if you see that even though human resources try to solve the situation, but the situation continues and they continue talking and they continue fighting and they continue with the bullying and everything, then now you as a supervisor, you step in to stop the situation with human resources. So you're going to avoid that the employee files a second case or a second harassment complaint or a second bullying complaint. Right there is your responsibility to stop it, and you talking to human resources and saying this solution that you guys made, it doesn't work. These two people are not able to patch it out and continue working. The situation is getting worse, they need to be split. So right now that you have that case of sexual harassment, for example, on your case, you cannot lay off any of those two employees because now you're creating another type of lawsuit. So the best idea is as soon as you report it, to separate the employees. Send the employees to different departments to do other duties, to be supervised by different people. So that helps you to control the situation again since the beginning, to eradicate it as much as possible, to avoid that your employees, your other team members, get affected. So basically that's what I can share with you today about everything that it was the beginning of human resources, information of human resources in general, and at the same time all the laws that we have to be aware of it as a supervisors, for protection, our protection of the company, and protection of the employees. So uh, I just want as a not as a conclusion basically, but as a summary, I could say, and as a general recommendation, take a look at it with everything that I can review and compare the policies with the policies of your company to see if we have things that are the same, if we have things that are different. Uh, how your cases of harassments and bullying and discriminations and handle in your company or in your country depending on where you are. So this aspect of the chapter 2, like I say, even though we're covering United States policies, is to help you compare things that maybe you have not considered, and maybe reviewing the policies in the employee handbook of your organization to be more aware of your rights. To be honest with you, your rights of responsibilities. Your rights if something like this happened to you, and your responsibilities if it happens to one of your employees. Anything that you want to add, anything that you want to share, any questions that you have about what I have reviewed, anything that you might be interested in of learning a little bit more about it, that I can send you articles or I can send you some additional information for your review. Well, so I guess we don't have any questions. You guys were very, very quiet today. Um, but as always, it was a pleasure to having you here today and to attend this presentation. Like I say, now that I have access to the online classroom, I'm going to transfer all the information that I have. I'm going to post the information of the next 2 weeks. I created a table of summary of assignments and deadlines and dates and all of that for the entire 15 weeks. So I will be posting that. I also, from something that for everything that I create and post, a lot of the things I create PDF documents. So you have the opportunity to download the information and save it in your computer. If there is anything that you see that you cannot access, let me know. I'll send you a Microsoft version of whatever I have in the class. And at the same time, any other additional information, if you want me to add resources, important articles that I use in the aspect of human resources, then let me know. And I'll start creating like a little database of documents and files for you to download, like additional reading or anything like that. So if for anything else that we don't have anything else to say, then basically I'll say goodbye to you for now. Thank you for attending. I wish you great evening for those of you that are at night. My day is just starting here in Florida. And whatever I can do for you during the week, if you have any questions, please contact me, okay? And I'm going to stop recording now.